Hey, everybody. This is Brett with the Indie Comic Dispatch and broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep within the Milky Way galaxy. This is broadcast from the Dispatch. Hey, everybody.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to another Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, it's been a Wednesday for me, too. Like, I'm ready for this week to be over with.
Yeah, this has been the largest hump. Wednesday's hump day. It's just been so weird. It's been it seems like it was moving fast, but moving slow.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was later in the day than what it was earlier.
Me too.
I just looked at the clock and I'm like, it's still 9 o'clock. Like, what the hell is going on, man?
I tried to put my kids to bed at like 5:45 and they're like, no, Dad, no.
It's too early. It's not time yet. Yes, it is. It's time.
Yes,
it's one of those days.
Go to sleep. I'm looking forward to Friday because it's the end of the week, but also because we have a big announcement dropping Friday for the Indie Comics Dispatch.
Yeah.
You're aware of what it is, but not very many people out there know what we're dropping on Friday.
No, they don't. Y'all will find out. I know you'll be seeing Britt and I sharing things, and we just had that new post that went out today.
Yeah. Hey, let's play that again. Let's play that again for everybody.
Play that again so everybody can see it.
Weird. I sent this to Tier last night. I was like, is this too weird?
It was perfect weird. It's gonna be some sci-fi madness. It's very it's eerie in a way. Like I don't know. For me, it's always been those old type of music like that. With that echoey sound to it. That what do they call it? I forget it's one of those phones. The phone that that the old record players used to be on. I can't remember the name of what they used to call the old record players, but just that sound has always been eerie. Yeah, just all the sci-fi stuff is like, yeah.
And Case Comics said, love the Alfred Hitchcock feel to it. That's true. Yeah. That is. It does have a good little Alfred Hitchcock feel to it. I like that.
Yep.
Don't be scared of the announcement, but we do have an announcement coming on Friday.
It's a great announcement, everyone. It's a great announcement. We think that you'll enjoy it. Hopefully, jump all over it.
Yeah. All right. I do want to bring up coffee.com, except it's spelled co-fi.
Yeah.
Indie Comics Dispatch. You can go there and you can become a monthly subscriber to Indie Comics Dispatch, and it helps support us. So everything that we kind of do right now comes out of pocket, except for we just had one little great burst, and it helped prepay for a year of Jerry, no, you're not supposed to be on that side. Go to that link I sent you, Jerry. Go to that link.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat, Jerry.
Yeah. Go click on it. Click on it, man. So everything we do is kind of out of pocket. We had a great burst recently that helped prepay for a year's worth of StreamYard and prepay for a year's worth of hosting for IndieComicsDispatch.com. Now we're trying to say, hey, if you can give $1, $2, $3 a month, that would be awesome. That would help us go a long way. If you become a monthly subscriber, I'll send you stickers. I'll send you Indie Comics Dispatch stickers, and maybe something else random too. So depends on how much you pledge.
That's and if you become one of those subscribers that you don't know, you hit about 3 months, 5 months, you're still there. Maybe you'll get something from the Sovereign Comics world too.
Oh,
I'm all about giving stuff for free if people look out for us.
So I do have one more promo I want to play, and then we'll get to introducing our guests in tonight's topic. This is our December schedule, and I really just want to play this just for a minute because it makes my heart warm.
Okay.
So that's our December schedule. I was making us into elves.
I'm glad I didn't watch that earlier. We said that. Oh, that was perfect. You got some moves, Britt. Man.
So tonight's topic is team comics, how to write a team comic, the dynamics of writing a team comic, which to me, I've never written a single comic, but to me, writing a team comic seems extraordinarily hard. Tyr, you've done it.
Yeah, all my titles are team comics. Yeah,
that's true. They are
all of them.
Well,
I think I'll be doing my first non-team team comic soon in Blue Fire Guardians.
Wow.
But then again, it's still kind of a team because
it's plural.
Yeah,
Guardians.
It's more of them, but it's going to be focusing on two. But then again, it's going to be focusing on their daughter too, who's in Temple High. So we're not really focused. So it's not a team; it's more family. But yeah, all of mine are some type of group aspect. So.
Well, let's introduce tonight's panel. First up, he just joined backstage. Jerry's no longer in the Instagram chat. He is now backstage of the stream, and I'm about to bring him. Jerry, I was hoping you could be here early so I could get your expertise on how to pronounce your last name. Tell me in a minute. I'm not going to butcher it. He is the creator of E4 Comics and writer and creator of the comic book The Elements, not to be confused with Elements. He is writer of The Elements. Welcome, Jerry.
What's going on? What's going on,
Jerry?
And you just got done with an Indie Comic Throwdown on the Indie Comics Dispatch, and we're not going to release any spoilers. We're going to reveal who won that matchup on Monday. Okay. But I know you can't wait to see that.
Team shock, baby.
Hey, that's what you got to do. You got to root for your own characters. My character,
that's right.
Cool belief. I give the friendly handshake, but then I'm like,
and you're going down.
You're going down.
Oh,
I'll send it to my mailman and everybody.
There you go. Spread the word. Get them to vote.
That's right.
So, who do we have next coming on?
On the list, we have Mike.
Is he here?
He is. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I forgot you can't see that. Yeah, Mike is here.
Yeah, I can't see that yet. One day, maybe one day. So, our next guest is Mike Shea. And I hope I pronounced that correctly, Mike. If I did not, you can let me know. He is the co-creator and writer of Miskatonic High, a series about kids taking on Lovecraft monsters in their small town high school. They're just not, which is the biggest horror show, high school or these Lovecraftian monsters. I'm going with high school.
Yeah, that's a good call. It's always high school.
It's always high school. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? You as well.
It's Shea, but close enough.
Okay.
Shea. And Jerry, how do you say your last name?
It's Chatelain.
I would have been close. I think I would have been close. Sometimes I have something in my head I'm going to say, and then I'm like, and it just comes out however it wants to come out.
Just go like this.
I've heard some crazy pronunciations of my last name.
It's like I tell everybody all the time.
Chatelain.
It's like I tell everybody all the time. I try to respect people's names if I can, try to sound it out, because I've had people misspell Jackson. Like, I don't know what education system they were part of.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm the regular Jackson. I'm not the one with the X. Like, there's another Jackson that has an X, but I'm like,
oh yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah. Me too.
It looks cool. But I'm the regular.
It does look cool.
Next up, we're actually waiting. I'm going to do 2 guests in a row. We're actually waiting on one more guest to join our feed, and Tier will introduce her when she arrives. Next up, we have Paul Richards, creator and writer of Black Moss Comics, an interconnected comic universe spanning 7 titles and the globe. It's in an alternate future that's struggling to cope with its newly enhanced population. Welcome, Paul.
What's going on? Look at him.
Hello, everybody.
What's up?
Hey,
Is he frozen?
Brett here. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
No problem. No problem.
You're frozen on scrn for a second there, Paul.
Oh, there he is. He's coming back. Oh, there.
Yeah, he's
One
coming back
spot
now.
this time. One spot.
One spot.
He's smiling slowly.
And we have Vonnell Young joining us. He is a championship knitter. He has raced ponies in 3 pony shows to date, and he loves cuddles and long walks on the beach. No, he didn't submit an actual bio to me. He is the creator of Delta Dogs and founder of Millennial Comics, a series based around 7 superhero cousins. And the reason I added all that is because he added to his bio that my favorite, Brett's favorite, out of all indie titles is his.
Wow.
Welcome, sir.
That's a bold claim to make. You got all these powerhouses up here.
What's up, everybody? What's up?
How you doing? How
Welcome.
you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doing all right tonight?
Oh yeah.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Good. Well, let's dive right in first of all and talk about just team comics in general. You guys are all team comic writers, creators. What is, in your opinion, other than your own, the best team comic book of all time?
You're dropping questions like that right now. Okay.
Yeah.
We need a chance to warm up.
You know where I'm gonna go. I gotta go outside of indie for a minute and just say Justice League. I
Justice
love
League.
League.
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree.
Mike says no.
No way.
So prove me wrong, Mike. What's your favorite?
See, the problem is you got too many A-listers there. If you're gonna do a superhero team, you got to mix it up with some like B level in there. So, you have some comic relief. You have the people that, or the red shirts who can die on you. You got to mix it up. If you have Superman and Batman, they're not dying. They're not getting rid of the comic. If you have, Plastic Man, he's going to disappear for a while because, somebody brought
or get turned into an egg. Wasn't it Plastic Man that got turned into an egg for like half of it was either plastic. I think it was Plastic Man. But yeah, he got turned into an egg, and then they broke him out of the egg in New 52 or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So, what else makes the list, guys?
For me, oh man, I would say Justice League Dark or Suicide Squad.
Get behind that.
Right.
I'm always an X-Men sucker, so or you can just stick with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ooh, good call.
That is a good call.
That is a good call.
I'm here with you.
I forgot Powerpuff Girls. That's another one. I'm just
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll play Paw Patrol.
What about
Anybody else?
One that I liked when I was a kid was Teen Titans. So it was like, they
The
were
original Teen Titans, not the
right,
Teen Titans
but it was
Go.
no, not Teen Titans Go. Not that there's anything wrong with that, if that's your thing, that's fine. But so like brought all these guys from like all the different corners of the DC universe, but they weren't like Superman level. So like they could fuck up and it was okay, because they were teens and that's what teens do. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun comic, a funny comic, and you never really knew what was going to happen, and they just like dived into like all the weird crap that goes on in the DC universe. So yeah, that'd be my go.
Yep.
One of mine I have to say was my first team comic was, I think it was called Wildcats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first team comic.
Was that Jim Lee and Rob's? Yeah.
Hey, Grifter was one of the characters.
Mhm.
Yeah, some dope character.
It was like a bladed dude, a dude that can get real big and strong. Like
Yeah.
it was a whole big cast, and that was like my first team comic.
Nice. Homebrewed Comics, who I just was lucky enough to do an interview with a little bit ago, said 90s X Factor was my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, put the 90s in there though. Trying to clarify things.
Yeah, because they're not. Yeah, never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, there you go. They a little off, but it's all right.
So let me throw this one out there. It's not my favorite, but it's one that I think is kind of cool. Is Fantastic Four. So not just a team comic, but also a family. So you got that dynamic to it as well. Whereas like in X-Men, if Wolverine and Magneto are going at it, it's fine. They get into a fight. That doesn't really matter. But if like Ben Richards and and Mr. Fantastic get into a fight, they're brother-in-laws. So it's kind of like, I got to make up with this guy. Quit.
Yeah,
I like it. That's a good one. So, how does writing a team comic differ from writing one focused on a single individual, in your opinion? So,
I'll let y'all answer first. Anyway, Vonnell, go ahead. Vonnell.
You want me to go up? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what? Nah, I feel like that's disrespectful. Like Tyrone, you the team leader right now. I mean, go ahead. You the team ND leader. Go ahead.
Oh, now I'm a co-host, so I'm here to mediate. I'll answer though. So go ahead.
No. Okay.
I'll answer eventually. I'll answer here in a bit. But hold on. So you saying
so like
harder, which is easier to write?
Really hard is you got all these characters and you sort of want to focus on all of them at the same time, and you got so many pages, so you got to figure out how to do it, and maybe you do it in a way where like one issue is about one character or mainly about one character, and then the next issue is about another character mainly about that character, or you just say screw it, we don't need characteristics, they just are there and they do stuff. So that's a challenge. I think is focusing on like one character. It gets really hard because you run out of pages really fast.
Yeah, that's something I myself I run into a little bit when it comes to writing the team comics. Because every single last one of my comics are a team. Like Cypher Team is in the name. Temple High, Arisha Exos, Yamo Stigmata, Stars, and Stars is a really big one right now. Like that one's super catching on, but it's all about that FaceTime and giving each character their own due and giving them enough space so you can get to know them.
Right.
I think I did that probably better in Stars and Temple High, especially in Temple High. But that was because in Temple High, I was like, I took off any shackles that I had on. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to write this book. So it was like a 36 to 38 page book, but you got to know every character, and people who read the book, they have their character that they like and their characters that they don't like. Like I had people come back and say, I hate her so much. And talk about a specific character. So if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. Everyone hates this character. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. I wanted you to hate her. I did my job. So it's like, so it works. So it works. It's just that, which that's going to lead to another question we're going to ask. But for me, is the FaceTime. Like you were saying, Mike, you gotta find a nice, healthy balance in that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vonnell.
So with Delta Dogs, I think that of course one thing is you only have so many pages to kind of tell what that character is there for. So what I had to do was have at least one main character to begin with out the group, have their story centered around his, where in later comics, I have a hook for each one of them, and I explain that hook, and that hook, it doesn't take too long to do it. It takes like maybe a page at the most. And you have that hook, like, okay, like with this character, stick with this hook. Just remember that hook. or that little piece of hype, and we'll get to that later. Like, oh man, I want to kind of find out exactly what that character is about. So then you go back to your main character, and then throughout the story, you kind of bounce off with that, with the side characters, and there you'll see the growth where they become main characters, where they get their own story. Just like I heard somebody say Teen Titans. We didn't really get too much of the other characters like Raven or Beast Boy, even Terra, until later on where they had their own arcs. So you'll have that little hook, like Beast Boy, he's the funny guy. That's the hook. So later on through the series, you'll finally get to Dumatro, where he's from. But you're always interested in that character just because of that small hook. So stick with the small hooks. Don't try to do things big just yet. From my point of view, you can go however you want to do it. But from my, how I do things is I do a small hook that kind of makes that character a little interesting, and you want to find out more, and then you give it on your time later on in the story when you actually have room for it and you can actually do that character justice.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest point about any team comic. And I know all of us write team comics. Obviously, that's the subject for tonight. That's the biggest thing, making sure that each character has their own personality. I've seen some team books where it's like everybody acts the same. And it's like, just because they have the same end goal, they don't have to act the same. But you can have a bad boy but he has the same end goal as the Boy Scout, but they have their different qualities. The funny guy, like you said, because I have a funny guy, like the funny guy in my books. I have the serious type, the bad boy, the bad girl, whatever. The one that's just wants to be left alone. You have all these different personality traits. It's mainly, if you hang with a group of people, look at the group. And you'll notice that the group is not the same. And you apply that to your story.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say, because my book is based on 4 brothers, and it basically based on me and 3 of the other guys that I grew up with. So whenever it comes to a certain interaction, it's like, what would he say in this situation? Yeah, that sounds just like him. What would he say in this? How would he react? Yeah, that sounds just like him, And in my book, to make it a bit more challenging, there's no leader out of the 4 brothers. So whenever they're going up against an opponent, it's always, a discussion, disagreement. You'll look at them and be like, how do they get anything done? If they're always, fighting amongst themselves, but they always get it done. At the end of the day, they do listen to each other. They take each other's opinions, and then they apply it to what they need to do. So that's why I say there's no leader in them. But eventually, like I said, one will probably be stronger than the others for a while, but that motivates the others to catch up to that and pass that. They motivate each other. They're always in competition against each other. So kind of like a Goku Vegeta kind of concept. What Goku reached Super Saiyan, I gotta make Super Saiyan too. I don't even know what that is, but I'm getting there. Like that kind of concept. So that's how it helps me to write the team book.
Yeah, there you go. That healthy rivalry, which I think is the one thing, because if you notice with a lot of manga, which we've mentioned on the show many times, and the way how that is starting to sweep across America, and people are actually picking up more manga than they are comic books now. That's one of the things too. Like they might have their main character, like for instance, Bleach. They got their main character Ichigo, but you have all these other characters that you get attached to, and in the sense, it kind of makes it that team book, even though you have your main character, and they do it so well because they have their hooks, they have their rivalries, they have their bad boy, their Boy Scout, all these different type of characters, and it works.
I think one of the biggest things about things like that is, like, for example, Dragon Ball Z again, and that was always my big issue with it. It's funny, Chris from Homebrew, we always talk about this same issues we have. You have one main character, and it kind of gets to the point where everyone else means nothing. So you have Goku, that's all you need. Everyone else falls way below the waistline to the point they're useless.
You talking about Yamcha?
You know what's funny? One of my favorite episodes of Dragon Ball Z is just that episode when Tien was holding back Imperfect Cell from getting 17, and he was just using the tri-beam. It was just a low-level human was finally able to do something to help the team out.
They kind of did Tien, Yamcha, even Krillin. Like they even
I don't know
got
what
Nick Krillin
Jiaozu
wrong.
is. I don't know if he's human, a baby clown. I don't know what he's.
I'm going with baby clown. He's probably a baby clown. But yeah, it was like they were the big people in Dragon Ball, and then the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, and then after that they were like,
on.
hey, we got
Yep,
stands,
that was it.
and just dropped them.
Bluetooth connected.
Always Bluetooth.
Who's automated? Somebody's automated over there.
I know, right? Someone's a robot.
That's me. My bad.
Jerry, I don't know if it's on everybody's end, but you're frozen. Your video's frozen on my end, at least. Do other people see Jerry moving? Okay.
No, I don't. He's frozen also.
Okay, just FYI. We can hear you
trying to
fine.
wait for the fly to come to him or something. Like just standing still till the fly comes to him. It's all like hit his face.
Don't blink. Paul's back with us. Paul went away for a moment into the great Northwest wilderness. But he's here now.
Jerry's back. Keep his powered on.
I was freezing. Everybody was freezing on me.
Uh-oh. You good now? You good now, Paul?
He may still be.
Yeah.
Okay. He's trying to stay still.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
I was like, uh-oh. Okay. So I guess Brady,
Am I still frozen on your end?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
No, we can hear you.
but I can hear you though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how who disappeared? Mike, this is one of them nights, y'all.
Yeah.
Listening to the podcast after this, you don't get to see people leaving and coming back into the stream. So every time we go, oh, that's somebody leaving the stream unexpectedly.
We'll edit that out. No, we won't.
Yeah. No, we won't. Oh, so okay, Paul, since we know you're here right now and not in the Great Northwest Wilderness, how do you develop a personality for each character in your book?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. And I think what it really comes down to is knowing each one of your characters. I think it's really easy to come up with a fun design or to come up with like a cool costume or a cool power set with someone. But that only takes you so far. So I think if you are really trying to build a team comic and have individuals interact with one another at a deeper level than just a typical fight scene, you really have to get to know who they are as a character. And so I don't go back a year. I don't go back 5 years. We try to think about who these characters were when they were kids and how they were brought up and maybe why they made a certain decision when they were in their late teens that led them on a certain path. There's a lot of motivations that you have to flesh out in an individual character before you're going to truly understand how they will interact with the rest of the team.
I like that.
Makes sense though. Because I know even myself did the same thing. Honestly, that's how the Sovereign Comics universe came to be. I started off writing stories for two twin sisters. Guess that's a team book too. But when I started thinking about their childhood and everything else, and had to figure out their parents and all the other stuff, it just blew up from there and just went everywhere else. And all of a sudden I got Cypher Team, Star. I'm like, when Stars came along, because I was like, well, I have Cypher Team, they got to listen to music. So
might as well be a superhero band.
Exactly. That's exactly how I was like, listen to a band, a rock band. Maybe they like rock. Oh, I create a rock band. Oh, maybe they're superheroes. And it just, So all those things help. And I think that's one reason why, Paul, your universe, I've noticed it start to blow up.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think to what you're saying, you have to be a little bit flexible in your characters as well.
Yeah.
You can't have rigid power sets and rigid rules for every character because they might interact differently with someone from Cypher Team than they are going to with Stars. And you have to be able to understand how those interactions would be different in that avenue versus just on their own. Yep. So you can't have everything set in stone when you're developing your team comic.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a very valid point, because that's what I did with stars. I just threw stars out there, and it started building. It started building itself, and all this other stuff started happening. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll let the fans build this one. And it just started growing from there.
Yeah, we can do that.
But yeah, you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. Even with the power set, that's one of the things that I think I kind of got a little angry with like DC and Marvel, is because when their characters get powers, it's like they get powers and all of a sudden they are the baddest thing walking, and it's like that's not how it works. Like me being an athlete, yeah, exactly.
That's
like for me, that's not how it works. Like for me being an athlete, like I didn't just get on the football field and was just running the ball up and down. I had stumbled, fell, got my head
That's
dropped,
right.
And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm tired of being tackled. And then I became the best one, not the best, but a good running back. So because
getting tackled hurt. I want to avoid that.
So I was like, hey, I'm gonna learn some spin moves and some juking. I don't want to get hit anymore. And it goes from there. Like it shows that that evolution. And that's one thing I try to do with my team books too, is like with Cypher Team, they're the most evolved or the most elite out of all of the other books, because Triple Highs, they're in school. Stars, they just started. That's the reason why they're getting their butts whooped by a villain who's been doing it for a decade. They just started.
Makes sense.
And Cypher Team, they've been around. They've been doing it Cypher Team's been doing it for over a decade. So they know what to do, what not to do. And that's all I'm going to say without spoiling issue 3.
Spoil it.
He was like,
I want to review it.
I saw Vonnell before because I know I talked to him about some stuff. He was like,
Brett, like certainly.
just do it.
Go ahead, Paul. What you got?
Go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say, circling back to your original question, piggybacking on what On Tier says, is when you're developing a character that's part of a team comic, you really can't develop them fully until you have the rest of your team. Like you got to know what the end goal of the team is before you can build any singular character.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that kind of leads me. Go ahead, Vonnell.
Oh, I was about to just add to that question. Basically, with mine, I don't want to make any unnecessary characters. I know it's sounds kind of strict, but I don't want to add any type of unnecessary character. So, say I have like with mine right now, I have 7 cousins, and each cousin serves a role of what I'm trying to say through storytelling. So, say I take one of those cousins out, doesn't matter which one, but any of them, if I take one of them out, the story will not work. So each character needs to have value towards the story, and then their personalities, of course, is centered around, again, what I'm trying to say, and that's how the story basically builds itself, if that makes sense. But I mean, that's how I do it. Everybody else has their ways, but that's kind of been helping me out since I've been writing.
I'm glad to just add to that question, because I know at least 2 of you, I think, have based characters in your team on family members or people you know. Jerry, you're frozen, so I can't actually tell if you're still there. But if you're still there,
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. Didn't you say your characters were based on brothers or friends or something?
Yeah. So my brother, Sky, is my brother. Shock is my cousin, and Hydra is my best friend. Okay. So. Like I said, growing up, it was always me and Hydro interactions are normally the most brutal. Literally in real life, we'll be at a pool hall where it gets thrown out because it looked like me and him are about to get into a fight over discussing something. But then we'll wake up the next morning, hey, you want to get something to eat? Yeah, let's go. Like nothing happened. Sky is always the funny young one. Shock is always the conceited, I'm down for whatever, I'm better than everybody kind of personality. So when you put all those personalities together, you get one hell of a show. Makes
sense.
Tier, you were about to say something a second ago.
I was about to say with Mike too, because I know since he's back now, I wanted to get his insight too.
Yeah.
On that.
That's right. Welcome back, Mike.
Yeah, because his story is a little bit different from us.
Yeah.
With Miskatonic High, which I don't know if y'all read it or not, but if you haven't, you need to, like, seriously, you need to pick those books up because he's very creative with his characters too, and I'll let him go ahead and explain that part on how.
Right. So we don't really do a superhero. We're just, average kids at a really messed up high school. And as they go, you find out that they have like hidden secrets. And one of the things that I learned from writing characters is that you're not really sure who your character is, follow them home. Like, don't stalk them. I mean, that's not cool, but I don't, what you do is up to you. I guess that's better than actually going into your home right now because of the COVID, but so maybe stalking is good. Maybe stalking is the healthy way to go.
Yeah, is the healthy way to go.
Yeah, but follow your characters home. Like, what do they do when they're not like saving the universe or fighting Chaluthu or whatever? Like, do they watch movies? Do they bake? Do they are they artists? Do they do they sleep all the time? Do they smoke pot? Do they it's like it's okay with me.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, who are your
Colorado
characters?
living,
and the thing is, like, if you don't know who your character is, stick your character next to their mom, and you're gonna find out who that character is real quick. Because because the mom always brings out the truth of who the character is. And so, it's like that. So if you don't know who your characters are, just take them to their home, find out who their family are, because you will find out who they are real quick.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I know in one of Vonnell, I'll talk about mine too, but in one of Vonnell's issues.
Oh, I know which one you about to say.
He's posted it, but you could tell because like the kids, like the cousins, they're in there talking all hardcore, blah blah blah, and then one of the characters blows a hole in the wall, and all of a sudden here comes mom. What are you doing? You want like everybody just breaks down like.
Yep, I love that part.
It's like you see how it brings that human factor back into the comic. And you see how kids act around the adult when the adult is angry, and that's like the real cool part. Just like in Temple High, Damien's gearing up and he's ready to fight Nomi and stuff like that. And, his familiar comes out. And the familiar's like, "What's going on?" Like, "Oh, we're about to fight in the Echelon." "What do you mean about to fight in the Echelon?" And then he finds out who he's fighting against. He's like, "Didn't your mom tell you to stay away from her?" "I'm telling your mom." It's like, okay. Well, don't tell mom, because his mom is also on Cypher team, so she would they've been training him up, but he's like, "I'm gonna tell your mom." I'm like, "Oh crap, I got to win. Can't lose." Yeah, because he knows that part too. Like now, since he's in the fight, because of the way his parents train him, if he loses, he's going to get it even more when he gets home. So he's like, "Well, dang, I can't lose now." So, but that does make sense though. Like bring that character around their mother and see how they will be.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So you have all these different characters, and I can imagine communicating with an artist is hard enough. But then you're trying to communicate the personalities, the facial expressions, the dynamics of multiple people. How hard is that? Am I just blowing it up in my mind, or is that actually a hard thing to do?
It is, I guess I want to say, especially since I'm a writer. So before,
I think everybody here is a writer, right?
Yeah. So for me, basically how I do it is when I'm especially dealing with an artist, I send him a picture of the character and I send him the bio, the personality and everything. And I tell him, get familiar with that character. And then I'll send him the next one, get familiar with that character, get familiar with all these characters. So now when he's drawing, he can try and visualize like what I'm saying and the facial expression and exactly what I'm looking for. So your artist has to be as familiar with the characters as you are. They have to understand their characteristics and everything. Because when like everyone here, when you find that artist that can vibe with your imagination, it's like since it's a sync you don't want to break, and that's exactly what you want to try to build, in the beginning. So that's how it works for me.
I would say for me, creating that part is easy for me, but the artist, that's the part where it really sells, because you got to make sure your artist is able to draw different people, and how different people look different, they'll have same face syndrome and stuff like that. You got to make sure your artist can do that. Because like for me, creating the character, I see all my characters differently. Like I see their facial features and stuff. So what I have done with my artist before is like I will tell them and he'll get it, or I will show him like, hey, he kind of looks like this. Like I get like find like a movie star or maybe a child actor or someone that character looks like they look kind of like this. Or just pictures, on was it stock, whatever that photo stock, whatever, just pictures. Hey, they kind of this is what they would favor. But yeah, for me, it's easy seeing them, but I just try to make sure my artist doesn't have same face syndrome because that part of hurt it.
Yeah. Right.
I've read several books like that.
Yeah, it's the small things that really gets by.
Yeah,
when
I
it comes to creating characters.
Any artists that have the interior work.
Go ahead, Paul.
They do I have them do pinup pieces or almost like cover pieces of each main character that's going to be in the book, so that they know and they're well practiced. And like Jerry was saying, they get the bio, they get tons and tons of reference pics, any other artist renditions that have been done. Like I'm really lucky to have an artist in Diego Morales out of Guatemala that's fantastic. But I mean, they just got to know that character inside and out, and they're really going to respect that. All of us writers hope our characters get treated well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Vonnell, you were saying?
Oh, I was just saying that it's a lot of things when you're thinking about certain scenes, and it's really different when it comes down to actually drawing out those scenes, because some things kind of fall through the cracks and it doesn't make sense on page. So I know it was one scene which hasn't even came out yet, but I'll just let you guys know. It was one scene where
you're letting the world know. You're letting the world know.
Oh no, it's fine. It's not critical, but it's not even in the comic book because I had to talk to my artist to kind of take it out. Okay. So there was one scene where one of the cousins is on the aunt's bed, right? And he's so used to drawing the characters that he just put shoes on his feet. I was like, whoa, like no. When I was young, you don't even have shoes on the carpet. Like, have it on the bed? I was like, yeah, you got to take that out. I was reading the file and everything, and he took away, basically, now he has some socks on. So stuff like that, it's like, it slipped through the crack, but I never really thought to tell my artist, like, yo, make sure you don't put shoes on Auntie's bed. But, again, just having that communication between your artist, it's like a relationship that needs to get built, not only between your art and your content, but also between you and your artist. So it's definitely critical.
Yeah, right. But what you should have did, Vonnell? You should have took that and you should have wrote the next scene where Auntie came in and saw him with the shoes on.
I need that.
I know your feet ain't on my bed.
Turn to super villain quick.
Mike, I know you had something to say too. Were you going to add to it?
Oh yeah. So for me, because you're doing a team comic, so many characters, it's kind of what the other characters are doing in the background. It's like, if you're not going to be able to write a whole lot of scenes for them, they got to be doing something in the background that conveys their personality. And, so if you have a good artist who knows those characters and can have them be doing little things in the background, know which one of them are friends with the other ones, which ones hate each other, that sort of thing. So you can have them doing in the background, which ones are awkward, which ones are really, really cool, that sort of thing. And to on everybody else, it's like, once you have that connection with your artist, and you empower they're going to had one scene recently where we had these two characters talking, and one character like turns to the other one, and flashes the bird. And, it's like, that's exactly her character. And I can't remember whether I wrote it or what he drew it, but it was such a perfect that, it made that scene and you understood exactly who that character was.
Yeah, it's I know my artist, and me and Vonnell, we use the same artist. He's a great artist. And he did something like that too, which I thought was hilarious because it was farther in the script. I hadn't even given him this part of the script yet, but he had Drew, and it was leading into it. And he had Drew, one of the characters, because I gave him the characters, told him how they were. This character in particular, her name was Chi-Chi, and she's an insect turned humanoid. So she has those insect qualities. So she's sporadic and does a lot of things, and she's in Temple High. So he drew like this little insect way in the back, flying up, carrying something. I'm like, did I give you the next page? And he was like, no. And I gave him the next page, and he was like, oh. So I'm doing it right. I was like, yeah, now you got to draw her bigger photo machine because that's what she's carrying on the next page. So it was like, so it's where it worked. It was perfect. Yeah, what is it? Fluidic. I call it fluidic actions or fluidic conversations because I've noticed that with a lot of books. People will draw them two characters talking, but you don't see anything in the background. Like you don't see if they're at school, you don't see students walking by. You don't see like a teacher dragging the student off to detention. You don't see that stuff.
The background, yeah,
right.
Exactly, and all of that stuff helps. All of that stuff helps so much. And I've seen it in Mike's books. I've seen it in Vonnell's books, Paul's books. Got to get your book, Jerry, which I'm going to get it and read it. And that helps, because people see those certain things and they start seeing those characters. And if they see somebody doing something crazy in the back, they might like that character. But hey, is this? Because I've had people ask me about characters in the background, like, is that character going to come up? Yeah, they'll come up later. They'll come up later. Not right now, they'll be here later. So yeah, that does help having that background movement, even of the main characters. Having them talk in the background, or it does help out. Like if one of your characters is a big music head or whatever, like if they're in the background and they're not talking at the moment, it should be okay for them to have headphones on or they'll listen to music or something. They're just like leaning against the wall, bobbing their head. Like, is that natural human conversation that we see daily,
You get that nice characteristic of that character.
Yep.
When you see them, how they acting in the background, like you get their personality.
Yep. And sometimes you could tell more about the character, like Mike was saying, from what they know in the background than when they're in the foreground. So.
It's different ways to kind of tell the story and kind of flesh out their personalities. Like that whole background thing you just said, that's another critical thing. Again, like would you say my name when I'm not around you? It's something when they're in the background, they really thinking about themselves, doing exactly what their personalities are, because they're off screen. So, some dude could just be picking his nose, just doing something that represents their true selves, but it's in the background. That's again in the background. That's when they're true. They're true. So
that can.
What's funny? I think that goes for everything else. Like you watch a comedy and you see like the two main characters acting a fool on scene, but then that what in the background from someone that's not even on the scene watching them, and you just hear like, what the? That kills me. That not what they're doing in the main scene, but just that unexpected background noise is what always catches me.
Yeah, like Adam Sandler used to do that a lot in his earlier movies. Like, you can do it, and that's a huge bitch. Like that honestly, I forget I forget which movie that was. I forget which movie he did that in. I think it was Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo. I think it was Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo. It was Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo, because I remember the dude, because it was Rob Schneider, and I think he was the Gigolo, yeah. And one of the ladies was like a really, really tall lady. So like, she walks by and you're not expecting it. Somebody's like, "That's a huge bitch," and I swear, I lost it. Like you're not expecting that. Like you're not expecting stuff.
Oh my god!
In the background,
So the background plays a big role.
yeah. So that background, if you can do that background right, you do a lot with your stories.
Yeah, basically doubling your page.
I guess that kind of leads into the next question. So like showtime for real, like FaceTime of your characters. Like, how do you work around that? All of us have team books. Some of us have 4 characters. Some of us have 7 characters in the book. Some of us have 15 characters in the book. Like, how do you go about that's Temple High? Trust me, I get a headache every time I write. But how do y'all go about doing your FaceTime, ensuring that these characters have enough FaceTime for people to know them?
Right.
Anybody can start off.
Paul, you haven't said anything in a little bit.
Who's that?
Paul.
Oh, yeah, Paul. You there?
Is it this guy?
You know what? You got to pick and choose. Unfortunately, there definitely have to be some roster cuts when making a team comic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there are going to be ones that get popular. There are going to be ones that are, that draw people in. And unfortunately, us as writers and as comic book creators, there are characters that I have tried to push that I've wanted badass that haven't gotten good reception, and others that I thought were B-list that have just had a huge following. So I've found that as I put things out there, even if I have a goal in mind, sometimes I can accomplish that with ones that might be, I don't know, a little bit more attractive, not attractive like physically, but attractive to an audience than others. So while there is an end goal, it's always in flux for me.
I understand that.
Well, does anybody want to go next? I can go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just jump in front. Okay. So when it comes to my
King of the Mountain, go ahead.
So that's funny. You remember that. So like I said earlier, that each character has a very important role in the story. So yes, that character might not show up until 7 pages down the line, or maybe not until the next issue, or it might be missing for the next 2 issues. But when that character shows up, it's very impactful. And then also given small little snippets throughout the whole comic book, where it's I don't see too much of that character. Only seeing him say maybe just a couple of lines, but each of those lines are building up to that big pivoted point where it's okay, finally, this character is about to say something. And when you finally build up to that moment, it's man, that character is just as impactful with all the other, just as impactful than all the other characters. So it's really just trying to figure out exactly what do you want to say with that particular character. And when he says it, make sure that it's the highlight of, just as much as the other highlights, so hopefully I explained that right.
So in other words, they'll make them come in, and when it's time for them to talk, they just sneeze, and then it goes like.
Oh no! I'll give you an example. So Curtis, right? Curtis is supposed to be the young, smart one, and he doesn't get too much shine. But of course, if you read the book, you see throughout the story, Curtis is the one the only one that's in class that aces his test. He's the one that's kind of every time he talks, he uses slightly different words. Of course, he try to dumb it down a little bit for all the other cousins to understand, but he has a very vast,
he's very intelligent
vocabulary, and his scene is coming up. Just wait on it. But when his scene comes up, it's man, where does this come from? And then you read throughout the story, man, it's been here the whole entire time, and it gives the comic readability, So. It's stuff like that. You definitely got to make sure you put a lot of time into each character, where it's man, what does this character stand for?
Yeah, it's balanced. I know I've had to explain to people before, every character doesn't need to be in the limelight at the same time, and that's kind of what you're pretty much what you're saying. You can have little snippets and little droplets. You can just sprinkle a little bit of salt on them. Here and there, just to get them throughout the book and everything. But yeah, not every character has to be in the limelight at the same time, and I get what you're saying. And
focus.
Because I know
even a specific character.
Because I know, even for me, like a lot of people asked me about Cypher Team. They were like, why didn't the actual villains show up in issue 1? It wasn't time for them to show up yet because they showed up. Like it was like, you know, who the hell are these people? You know, like, is this who they're about to fight? Like, who are they? You know, and you're right. Like I alluded to them, just like you said, how you did with Curtis, you know, which I've noticed when I read your books. You allude to the intelligence that Curtis is actually a smart kid. He pays attention. He, you know, he's in his books. He's probably going to be one of the tactical thinkers. And then you just drop it. Bam. This is how smart he is. And they're like, oh, like, you know, just like, oh, wow, he is smart, you know, and that's kind of how I did with my villains. Like I sprinkled them in there in issue 1 and people kept asking. And then in issue 2, I sprinkled them in there a little more. And then bam, here's the villains, and everybody's gonna ask this handed to them.
That brings up a good question for me, Tier. You have a team book. Do you need a team of villains, or are they fine facing one mega character?
That is a good question,
Jerry.
Jerry, and then we'll go to Mike after Jerry.
Yeah,
I think Mike has.
You know what? So I think it goes both ways. You know, I guess it's kind of like depending on how, you know, long your story goes. Like, for example, my issue 0, I have a team called the Twin Titans. And it's basically
I like that.
Twins of each villain. So it's two characters of each villain. So that leaves 8 villains that 4 brothers have to go up against. And I did it that way because, you know, we've seen the whole, you know, one mega character pushes them to the limit for them to reach like their like new state of abilities or new powers or new level, etc. I wanted to go a different direction. So I was like, if I really want to push them, it'd be great if each brother have to fight 2 people.
So,
you know, and that's pretty much what happens, that in issue 0 that you'll see them going up against the Twin Titans. And already in the beginning, all the Twin Titans are not fighting. It's just a handful of them, a couple of them that are involved in the fight, and they're already giving it to the brothers. You know, so eventually they're going to have to find a way to get around them being outnumbered, you know, to push themselves further to defeat the Twin Titans.
Yeah. Well, man, Jerry over here about to have his characters go past Ultra Instinct.
I'm telling you, man.
All right, Mike.
Yeah. So we do something different. So, like, again, we don't do a superhero one. We do a horror one where there's like a monster of the week sort of thing. It's kind of like that old X-Files idea, you know, so each one you're going up against some sort of new monster or something. And, you know, when we conceived our idea, it was like, these kids aren't going to be really super powered. They're not superheroes. You know, if they run into monsters, they're going to run away. You know, that's what they do. It's like, you know, if I ran into a monster, I'm booking it. And I don't have to be the fastest. I just can't be the slowest.
Yeah, exactly.
So as long as I can get away, that's all it does. So like, if
you got to trip one of your friends, that's all.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you're not friends anymore, but you're alive. You know? But, you know, so like if my kids went up against like 7, you know, super villains or 7 super monsters, it's like that's the end of the book. There's no more.
Because I know, like, what are your big monsters? Like, I like the way you wrapped it up in the end of your season. Like the first monster they faced in issue 1, and then they ran back into him in the last issue of the first season. Because the one I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to say anything, but yeah. You got to read these books.
You got to read these books. Read it yet? I have them all from the Kickstarter, but I haven't read it, so don't spoil it.
Yeah, I won't.
Let me spoil it all for you. You know, it was all a dream. They were actually on an island. You know,
perfect. Drinking mimosas, teenage, you know. But he does a great job of doing that, though. Like he just explained, because they're not super powered, but they find ways to deal with it, just using their natural intellect, which is really cool ways, you know.
Well, and that's like the challenge of it. You know, it's like, I don't know if you guys do this, and I'm kind of curious about how you do it. It's like in 16 pages or whatever, setting up this terrible thing that's happening and like really boxing your characters into a corner, and then you're like, well, fuck, how do I get them out of here? And so then you spend, you know, however long, you know, trying to get them out of there, you know, trying to think the way that they're going to deal with it. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you're like, well, here is a giant sword. Go ahead. We solved it. Let's go to the next issue.
See, what I do is I take the early Dragon Ball Z route and just make them charge up their powers for like 3 issues until I figure it out.
When what's the series called?
Are you talking about the boys?
Black Noir.
Yeah, the boys.
Yeah, the boys. Yeah, just give them a food allergy.
Yeah, exactly. I was not expecting that in the boys because, like, I'm looking at Black Noir. I'm like, how the hell are they gonna beat this dude? And all of a sudden, like, she shoved an almond joy in his mouth and like, oh yeah, he's allergic to tree nuts. Like, what the?
Okay.
I guess that works.
As a person with allergies, I felt that. I was just like, yo, I cannot fight that.
Yeah, like I feel his suffering. He's gonna die.
Paul, you were gonna say something a second ago.
Oh, go ahead, Paul. You were gonna say something, Paul?
That Northwestern.
I wasn't saying anything. You must have to delete.
We thought you were. That is a dope question. That was a dope question, Britt. That makes sense. Like, because I know, like, for me, like, I have, Penumbra, she's a single villain. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I was.
He caught himself. He was about to
do it. See, you just walked yourself into that corner and you didn't know how to pay
that. Exactly. So, but things come. But I know at Cypher Team, they have their they do have single villains, but they do have this team, the Angels of Anarchy, which is who they fight against. Which the crazy part is a couple of those characters were once heroes, which is one thing that I do in my universe. Like, a lot of the villains you end up seeing were once heroes at some point. So it kind of takes that whole hero identity and flips it on its head. And it's like, okay, well, how are this villain going to react? Well, the villain, since they were a hero, they know how heroes are going to act. So yeah, they're going to use those things against you, because they know what you'll do. In Temple High, it hasn't really been any villains popping up. Not villains in the aspect of the big bad, but there's villains as like other students who are villainous and doing crazy stuff. Because that was one thing that I wanted to do at Temple High, is like, I didn't want this high school to be, oh yeah, they're in hero training, because I already knew, even though I came out with Temple High before I knew anything about My Hero Academia. Honestly, before it even came out, I was writing Temple High way in 2008. But that was one of my big things. I was like, I want this school to be a place where when they grow up, they can make the choice. You could be a hero. You don't have to be a hero. You can go to Temple and work for Cypher Team. Or if your parents were villains and you're going to take over the family business, well, one of those students who just went through power training with you might be your next supervillain. So, and that's kind of how I wanted to do it, make it where it was up in the air. So you have the villainous students and you have stuff like that, but not really team thing there as far as villains are concerned. And Yama Stigmata is another one where it isn't a team of villains. I take that back. Yeah, because Lepus kind of has her squad, which you see a lot of them in issue 2, but you'll see way more of them in issue 3. But she does have her squad, and they are. I still gotta send those out, but yeah, those are they're. You're gonna love.
Walking on thin ice, man.
I know. Right. That's the hardest.
Just say you got an allergy, and you can just take off.
Yep, and that's what. Here's a question outside of team writing. How hard is it not for you not to spoil anything whenever you're explaining?
Oh my God!
Right.
That's just for me to just shut up.
Yeah, I'm telling you, 100%. Oh, yeah, every time I open my mouth, it's like, wait, can I say that? Okay, hold on. Let me retract. Let me think about it real quick. Okay, and then I start talking again and stuff. Like, it's very difficult for me. Very difficult.
But like, what's one of those things that you don't want to spoil?
No,
I see what you did there, Brett.
You know what's funny is that working on, so I have issue 0 out, and I'm currently working on issue 1, which is almost completed. it's like the way I have the story set up is a bit confusing. So if you do end up getting issue 0, it kind of looks like I'm throwing the fans right into the middle of the story. You know, because when we first created the elements, we kind of decided that, for example, anyone that's watched Naruto, I've gotten into Naruto simply because I was changing the channel one day and I saw Rock Lee fighting Gaara in the exams. That got me hooked. That made me want to go back to the beginning and see what this was all about.
I see what
That's basically what book 0 is supposed to do. So you're going to see a lot of action, a lot of abilities. And you're going to be like, what the hell's going on? And then when issue 1 comes out, it's the beginning of how it all started. And then from issue 1, it will eventually build back up to issue 0.
That's dope. Okay.
You know, so that's how I kind of try to map it out and bring it together, you know, later on down the line. So it's hard for me to talk on these things, and because book 0 is kind of the biggest spoiler you will ever have. Like, it spoils a lot that's going to happen down the line. So now once you get book 0, you're going to have to wait for the story to kind of reach up to that. And now it's going to be like, oh, snap, this is what book 0 is. What happens next? So it's very hard to just keep that under wraps.
Right. I know. And still speaking on that fight of Rock Lee and Gaara, that's still, to me, that's still the best fight.
Yo, when he took the weights off and he disappeared, I was hooked.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that. And I think that's what it was. Even still, like, as he grew up, and, like, they introduced his drunken boxing and stuff like that, and then introduced the gates. And I'm like, this dude is OP, man. And then when you finally get to see what his trainer does,
he's my favorite character, son.
You know, and I'm like looking at Bushy Brow, and I'm like, dang it, he mega OP. Like, what?
I thought Haku was good.
What's that, Haku?
Yeah, I thought Haku was good. And then we got to the tuning exam, and Rock Lee just like, bro, I'm stunting them fellas. Like, I got the Nike sandals and some Nike weights, and he was just stunting on people. It was a whole nother ball game when people like him walked into the scene.
Yeah, because it was. I think the coolest part, because they were joking him. You know, they were like, he's not gonna win this. Like, he's trash. And the whole time they're talking trash about him, the weights are falling. And then when they hit,
he's like, those are just regular weights. Why is he making such a big deal about it? When they went through the ground, they were like, whoa, wait a minute.
He had those on the whole time, and he was still that fast. Like, yeah, this dude's about to wipe the floor. Like, if you ever get in a fight and someone takes ankle weights off and they put dents in the ground, just go the other way. Like Michael said, run away. That's a monster. Run away.
Run away.
You ain't got to.
I want to say real quick, Paul said he was only catching every 5th word and made it hard to converse. So he's out. He's actually in the chat at the moment. So Paul's still in the chat, I believe. So Paul, feel free to chime in if you have anything to chat about to the questions, and we'll pop it up. We are also over the 1 hour mark. We are approaching 1 hour and 10 minutes, which means we were beginning to wind down our show time. Tier, I think you have a few questions left you want to get to, though.
I guess one of the questions I want to figure out too, because you know every team has its name. So how did you come up with your team names?
That's a spoiler. You know, it's a spoiler.
You can't take my words. That's my saying. That was my line. Like they say anime. That's my line. I know you can't say anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up. That's my motto.
You know, honestly, out of the boys, the brothers, they don't really have a team name. Like, literally, my first team name came with the Twin Titans. You know, it was always like, the brothers, the elements, Pyro, Shock, Hydro, Sky. Like, I never thought about giving them like a team name,
right?
Okay,
and stuff. So
that's cool,
right?
I don't know. What about you, Mike? Because I don't think they
really
call
have a name.
themselves anything, do they? Yeah.
Really, the hard part for me is like when I'm talking about them, you know, like on podcast or you know on Kickstarter or whatever. It's like, what do I refer to them? Do I refer to them as kids or the teens or the students or the Scooby Gang? It's like I don't know. You know.
And that's cool you mentioned that. They're a darker Scooby.
Right. They're like Scooby-Doo if Scooby didn't come back and was gibbering, madness the entire time.
Scooby-Doo's not allowed in my house. I'm sorry.
You guys read that series of Scooby-Doo? Sorry to hijack this for a moment, but Scooby-Doo Apocalypse, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. I looked
That
at
shit was dark. Yeah,
it was mega dark. Like,
yeah,
people died. I'll just say that people died.
Oh my god.
Important people.
Well, think about this. So, like, Scooby-Doo and the gang have been searching these mysteries and dealing with maybe ghost, maybe not ghost for like 50 years now. Think about that. They've been spending 50 years stuck chasing ghosts in like this horror world, and the best that they can do is they meet Adam West. It's like they are dealing with some dark shit.
I have it on DVD somewhere behind me, just so you know.
I'm surprised
that's 50 years of depression that I hear when it comes to Scooby-Doo. That's 50 years that poor Shaggy is still skinny, nothing but bones because Scooby constantly stealing his food, leaving him hanging. Even though he shares with Scooby, it's not enough. That's what I hear. 50 years of depression.
Let's be honest. Shaggy's been high for 50 years.
Yeah, really,
yeah, for real.
That means he got the munchies that he can't eat.
But it's like really some like St. Elsewhere stuff where really this all is going on, but it's actually just one like big bad dream that some kid is having. Like Shaggy's actually in a mental institute, and it's like this is the visions that he's having. It's like, I talk to a dog, and we go and we combat ghosts, and I get to hang out with the cool kids. It's like, oh yeah, this is great, and it's just going.
I think you and I might be the only ones that get the St. Elsewhere reference. So.
You know what? Mike, you're about to get picked up by DC. They're like, that is a good idea.
Yeah, really, it's been Dr. Manhattan going the whole time. Alan Moore, that's what he would have loved. That, let's do that.
Yep. Oh man. So let me see. And
I actually got a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
The way you guys are writing your stories, is there any place for any of your characters to either die or turn evil?
Yes. Yes.
In life, it happens, so it's a possibility.
I can't spoil anything.
He's making it tough on everybody.
It's something like that's the thing though. Like we were talking about it, like how you say your issue 0, right? Is pretty much a spoiler, because it's way in the future, and then you jump back. So, like I was saying earlier, the Sovereign Comics universe was built around these two twin sisters, Mirage and Orchid, and that's the reason why I haven't released their books yet. And I have 30 stories written for that, like 38 stories. If I were to release those, Stars, Cypher Team, all of them gone. Like it'd be no point in reading them anymore because you will know, like, because the Sovereign Comics universe is going to get flipped on its head. Like, it's gonna
do you guys ever feel like Tyr is the J.R.R. Tolkien of the indie comics world? Like,
every time I watch his live, like he's just going and going. Like he got so much info, so much creativity up there. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's a whole another language.
Yeah, I've been writing these things since 2007. That's why some people are like, "Oh, did you just start?" No.
Oh.
I've been talking to myself for 9 years. Like 12 years, just characters.
Oh shoot!
So, how many pages is everybody's comic books? Like, do you keep it at a certain number of pages?
Just talking about that.
Oh yeah.
Me and Vonnell just had a conversation about that earlier.
Let's talk about the bad side of that conversation. But the good side, it was between 22 to 24 pages is of content is mine, and that's not including the front cover and back cover and stuff like that. So it's like 22 to 24. That's like my sweet spot.
For me, it's 24 to 34.
That's kind of a big gap there, Jerry.
That's a huge gap. I don't know what's going to happen.
22 to 106. You know, like it's somewhere in
He
there.
just do what he wants.
Yeah, you know, issue 3 is a trade paperback. You know,
I had to explain the great grandparents and how they planted corn and planted the Sonic Comics universe.
Exactly. Like with the Yama Stigmata, seriously, I had issue 2. I was like, this will be 24 pages. 20 pages later.
Well, I don't know if you guys do this, but like I write a first draft, and the first draft, I am not kidding you, is like 56 pages long, and it's like I have to get this back to 24. Are you kidding me? And so like, all right, I don't need that whole thing. That's got to go. This has got to go. I can't have that. And it's like you have to cut this thing to the bone, you know. And even then, so we shoot for 24. And oftentimes it'll be like a page or 2 over, and I'll have to go to my artist and I'll be like, please, I need the extra pages. I can't cut anymore. And he's like, ah.
I think that's like,
that's funny. That's why mine's 34. I keep mine at 34. Every book is 34, you know, and it's funny because for me, when we first created the elements, it was all visualized as an anime. You know, that's what we wanted it to be. So converting that anime image into a comic book, it's very hard because it's like, yo, especially me, I have like a martial arts background, whatever. So fight scenes are very important to me. So when I'm imagining a fight scene, it's like, damn, I'm gonna have to change this up and put it in a comic book form because, you know, it's very easy to just go punch, pow, bing, boom, you know, and stuff. But I kind of like to implement, he blocked, dodged, and uppercut, you know, kind of motions in there. So I feel like, and then of course you can't lack on the story. So I feel like 34 pages give me that room to not lack on story, and also give me that room to play with the action scenes.
Right. Well, and I don't know if anybody else does this. It's like when you write your first draft, you write like so much dialogue because you in your head you're hearing the people go back and forth and back and forth. And by the time you're getting to that final script, or you're like, I do the lettering on my book, so even there I'm doing, you know, I'm cutting it down. If you actually like read a comic out loud, it's not that many words. It's, you know, they don't have the space to do it. So you really got to cut that language down to really get to the essence of what you're trying to say. And, you know, for us, we keep a few jokes in there, and, you know, so it's like, you really got to get to the heart of what that joke is and get it out fast, and then get to the next thing, you know, and that's the real challenge. Is not necessarily the writing, it's the rewriting and editing that becomes a real challenge.
Yeah, you got to say more with less. And just like you, Mike, I letter my own comics too. That's the main thing I do. And there's been times where I'll have this monologue, and then when I get the panel, I'm like, oh, that panel is small. That's not gonna fit in there. So it's like I got to chop it down, and it's like, so how can I sell this with 5 words? Because that's all I can fit in there.
Right, your monologue was 500 words. You're now going down to 5 words. Exactly, so it's like, what is you really trying to say?
Exactly. You know, so here comes the thesaurus in the dictionary, pulling out, looking at, I can use that word instead. Yeah.
Paul responded to the question via Facebook and says about team names. Fox Force came from a callback to the Powder Revolution. Our characters helped destroy the governmental powers, but now they're the ones being looked to for direction, kind of forced into servitude when they were really just trying to overthrow the existing powers. That's interesting. I like that.
That's an awesome concept.
Yeah, it really is, because it's like, you're fighting the government now. That now the government's gone, what are you going to do?
Right. And it sort of goes back to what you were talking about. Right. And it sort of goes back to what you're talking about, Tur, where it's like you can have heroes and then the heroes become the villains. You know, it's like if you have good characters, they shouldn't just be black and white of good or bad or whatever. It's like, let's see him go a little bit evil, or let's see him go, you know, be tempted by the dark side or whatever. It's like, you know, that's cool. I like seeing that. And so, like he's saying, you know, it's like if you take out the big bad and they're, you know, like in power or something, people are going to be looking to you to see what you want to do next. And it's real easy to fall over the edge.
It really is. It really is. It's like, dang, what was I about to say? Brain farted. Somebody else can go to come back.
Tree nut allergy.
It's like
peanut allergy.
Like Hitler. Hitler didn't think he was a villain the whole time. So I see what you mean, and I don't even think that Magneto thinks he's a villain at all. No. So again, people like that, they have something that they want to do with the world that they think personally that's good.
Right.
So yeah.
Is that a Batman saying? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Right. Ain't that one of the movies?
Yep. Well, and I always like, a really good story almost always has a really good villain, and it's not just like, they're ultra super powerful. It's like, if you think of the Avengers movies, it's like Thanos had a really cool story arc. He really thought he was trying to save the world, and he really loved the people that he was trying to take out, to save the universe. It's like, that's interesting. He's not just a big bad guy and you don't care. So it's like, if you have a good villain, your story is going to be 10 times better.
Oh yeah,
like trying to impress.
It's not a villain that you can just that's it. He actually has a lot of purpose, a lot of truth to what he's saying. Like, we are overpopulated. A lot of people are starving because of that overpopulation. Hence why they're trying to do clone meats and et cetera and stuff like that. So, when you listen to him, you're like, I can't really be mad at him. Like, he's legit. Like,
same thing with Killmonger in Black Panther. Like, Killmonger had a very deep story. Like, that was understandable too. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I didn't get it. I got it. I understood it."
Right.
He had he was one of those ones too, where he saw himself as kind of bad, but he saw himself as doing something good, something that needed to be
necessary
done.
Evil.
So necessary evil, exactly. That's what he more saw himself as. So, but those type of villains do make the stories good.
Right. Yep.
I can't. I can't wait to shout out to the big bad of Cypher Team. He's not. He's not there yet.
I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, I mean, no, go ahead. I'm gonna go after you.
No, you go. You go.
I don't want to do too much spoilers, but everybody knows that Delta Dogs the villains are gangsters, and it surrounds about that. But at the same time, though, they're not gangsters just to be gangsters. At the end of the story, it's not too much of a spoiler. I kind of say it, but you kind of see that they're gangsters for a reason. They're trying to gangs basically got created to be, have a safe haven, to have somebody to protect you, have somebody that you can be a family with and stuff like that. Right. So they're not gangsters just to be gangsters. They have reasons to be that, and it's like, man, if I was in that situation, I might want to join the gang too.
Yeah, right.
So, it's stuff like that people will appreciate.
Yeah,
in the book, it's not just badness.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think you really did well in Delta Dogs, and I think that's one of the main reasons why I liked it, and now I'm on the team. But that's one of the things that I think you did. I think you did really well in that, and I really enjoyed that part about it, because it's like they just weren't. It shows that other side, because a lot of people think that a lot of the individuals who are gangbanging they just want to see the world burn, but a lot of them are really just trying to put food on their table.
Right.
Exactly.
The only way
they're seeking that connection, they're seeking that family, that brotherhood that they're not getting.
Exactly.
And that gang provides that for them.
Yep.
Exactly. And so it's the question rise. Man, I shouldn't say this, but man, I'm gonna say it. I don't care. I'm grown. I'm gonna say it. Just moving my chest out. Okay. You gotta find in Delta Dogs, you gotta find out who's the true villain. Yep. If it's not the gangs, if it's not the people that's trying to stop the gangs, who's really is the supervillain? And that's one of the biggest questions in the series. So I'm just saying it. All right, I'm done.
This book is already out, but it kind of alludes to it. I think was it issue 4 where it alludes to it.
I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah, pick the books. Season 1 of Miskatonic High is done. Season 1 of Delta Dogs is done. So if you're listening, go pick up those seasons. Go pick them up.
Pick them up.
Oh, gentlemen, we are almost at an hour and a half, which means we are about out of time. Any closing words? Why don't we go around and just give a real quick plug for each of our books? Tier already suggested you go buy season 1 of Delta Dogs and season 1 of Miskatonic High. I already own both of those, so I'm one step ahead. Jerry, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, you can find my issue, The Elements, issue 0. You can find it on my Instagram, and link is always in my bio. I'm always tagging my my images to it, so it's easy to follow. You can also get at www.e4.company.site. You can also get it there. I'm also on Facebook. You can follow E4 Comics on Facebook as well. So hopefully issue 1 will be out late this year, early next year. I wanted to drop a Kickstarter, to release it, to help fund the next few issues coming out after it, but we'll wait and see how that goes.
Check out our last podcast.
Yeah.
Lots of good information in there.
I was there. I was definitely there.
The comments.
Okay, yeah. That's how
I was definitely there.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Vonnell, why don't you go next?
So
clockwise. Ooh, there you go, man.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
You can order your physical copy books off of millennialcomic.com. And we have issues 1 through 11 there that's actually currently out, and you can also pre-order issue 12. We're pushing to come out with a comic book a month, so definitely keep up to date with us on Facebook and on Instagram. Just type in Millennial Comics and it'll pop right up. You'll see Delta Dogs and stuff like that.
I am jealous. A month?
That's
insane. I wish. You know how impatient I am? Just waiting for my books to come out. You get it a month. Oh, I'm jealous. I got to hook up with your team.
He got a dope team. I'm one of those team members.
Yeah, man.
Can I say what I do?
I got to help a brother out.
Is it all right, Vonnell? Can I say what I do for the team?
Go ahead, man. You the superstar. Be honest.
I'm his editor and his letterer. So if you need a professional letterer, D4, let me know, or editor. Mike, Mike's covered. Mike's dope. Like me and him are the same with lettering. Like that dude's dope with lettering. So,
it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun thing to letter.
It really is. I love it. I enjoy it. It come up with a lot of different creative ways too, especially with Clip. I don't know if you letter in Clip Studio, or if you use Illustrator, but I use Clip.
I use Illustrator. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah, but you like Clip? You like the Clip Art Pro?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's
nice.
Really good, and you can get it on your iPad, so you can letter on the go if you need to.
Oh, are you kidding?
Cool too. Now
I'm in COVID-19. I don't go anywhere.
Well, if you go to your couch, you can take that.
There we go.
Mike, tell us about your book and your many crossovers.
Right. So, we're Miskatonic High. We come out about every 2 months. We do a Kickstarter. We're getting ready to kickstart issue number 9 on Tuesday. We just finished our crossover. We crossed over with another Lovecraft comic called Lovecraft PI. We put out the first issue. I'm currently fulfilling that. And we're going to be putting out issue 2 of the crossover, the second half of it, come January.
Very cool. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here tonight. Just as a reminder, there is no show next week because Thanksgiving. Tier and I will be helping cook in the kitchen, or at least I will be. But again, the December lineup is.
But I know we have moves like that, huh? We went through a lot of trouble to get that for y'all. Like
meet halfway.
Very well worth it.
Thank you.
I had to find that elf suit.
Don't forget, you can listen to our whole show after the fact as a podcast on all major podcasting networks. This one will be a little bit weird, podcast listeners, because we had lots of dropping in and out. But again, every time I go, oh, that's somebody dropping out of the feed. That's the telltale time.
Turn into a drinking game. And
turn it into a drinking game. Don't forget, Tier's the founder and principal creator behind Sovereign Comics. He would appreciate a follow at Sovereign Comics. He would appreciate even more if you went and bought some of his books.
I really would.
I bought 2 already.
Oh, yep, and they're on their way.
I got everything.
And as one final reminder, if you want to support the Indie Comics Dispatch and all we do here, you can go to Coffee. It's pronounced coffee. I know it looks like Ko-Fi. It's pronounced coffee. ko-fi.com/Indie Comics Dispatch. Sign up. You can give a one-time gift. You can give monthly. We don't expect much. If you can just give $1 or $2, that actually goes a really long way for what we do here. Lets us keep interviewing people. Lets us keep doing Indie Comic Throwdown and hosting the website. It's basically all it goes to right now. So again, I'll send you stickers if you pledge to be a monthly donor.
Yep. And if you like I said earlier, if you're one of those that goes past the month, 3 to 5 months, I'll send you something from the Silvers.
Nice.
Which is some top quality comics.
Yep.
So, gentlemen, thank you again for being here tonight, taking the time out of your Wednesday evening to come and talk comic books with us. We really, really appreciate it. Jerry, I can't not believe you did not blink this whole goddamn time.
He's amazing,
man.
He is amazing.
He won that staring contest.
Am I really frozen?
Yeah, been the whole time.
I thought you had said it as a picture for a minute. So I was
know.
as a picture.
He's just really just right there. He just oh my god.
Oh man, that's crazy.
It's like he's talking, his lips not even moving.
I know. He's been practicing that ventriloquism for many years now. That was his first passion. We missed saying good night to Paul tonight. Yeah, go back and watch it. It's pretty funny. LaShawn Colvin was supposed to join us. She got caught up at her comic book store because she's the rare breed that makes comics and owns a comic book store.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yes.
So, and y'all check her out too.
Beautiful Soldiers.
Yeah, her comic is Beautiful Soldiers, which she has a Kickstarter coming out, I think the end of this month or December.
Can't wait.
Also, her comic shop, she's actually looking for indie creators to get their books in her store. So you can find Comics and Geeks, or if you find her on Facebook, talk to her and get your comic in her store. So
she's doing amazing, man. Oh my gosh, I cannot. Have we had somebody like that in Virginia?
Be that somebody in Virginia.
You need to be that somebody, Vonnell.
Oh, whoa. I ain't as stunning as she is. So
I was saying we need more comic stores that sell indie comics. We need to get our stuff, out there
and everything. That's like a dream store for us.
Yeah.
Hey, let me go ahead and do one more plug here since we're talking about stores that sell indie comics. Encasedcomics.com. They are on Instagram as Encased Comics. They stock indie comics in their online store. They will support indie comics at a retail tier on Kickstarter. They are fantastic. Check them out and buy their books so that they can keep supporting indie comic creators and keep carrying indie comics on their store. So
they have something really cool. They have something really cool coming. I'm not gonna say anything. I'll let him explain that. Everybody get him on.
I know what that is.
Talking about So if you're also try to get with Encased Comics too to get your stories there. I know he's back one of my back stars, so I'll be sending him those.
Yeah.
And, with some other books so he can get them in his online store. So
All right, gentlemen, thank you once again. I appreciate you being here. Guys, again, no show next week. We'll catch you in December. First Wednesday of every month is ICD Team Night or Team ICD Night, however I decided to type it in each month. And it'll be the team on talking comics and our favorite and maybe some of our not so favorites from the month before. Everybody, thank you once again. Everybody out there in Indie Comics universe land, we'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.
Peace.
Laters.